Bermuda Triangle is a place where people disappear mysteriously, and it has no logical, no conventional, no natural explanation.
What if I told you there's a place where the fabric of reality seems to unravel? Planes vanish, ships disappear, and survivors return with tales so surreal they challenge everything we know. Today, we're diving into one of the most astonishing stories from the Bermuda Triangle. A pilot's journey through clouds that seemed alive, with navigation systems spiraling into chaos, and a plane that traveled hundreds of miles in what felt like seconds. Was it an unearthly phenomenon, or did he stumble into a portal to another dimension? Stick around, this is a mystery you won't forget. The journey begins December 4, 1970. Bruce Gernon, an experienced pilot with over 600 hours of flight time, set off on what seemed like a routine flight. He was piloting his single-engine Beechcraft Bonanza, accompanied by his father and business partner, on a 250-mile journey from Andros Island in the Bahamas to Miami. The weather was perfect, clear skies, calm winds, and no signs of storms. For Bruce, this trip was familiar and predictable, a 90-minute flight he had taken many times before. But just minutes after takeoff, things began to shift. At 1,000 feet, Bruce spotted a small cloud ahead. It looked harmless, just another puff of vapor in the sky. He flew through it without hesitation. But something felt off. It was dense and strangely compact, emerging on the other side. Bruce barely had time to reflect before noticing another cloud in their path. This cloud wasn't like the first. It was much larger, darker, and growing rapidly. As the plane approached, the formation seemed alive, pulsating and expanding as if it were reacting to their presence. Bruce, sensing the unease, climbed higher in an attempt to avoid it. By the time they reached 11,500 feet, a massive wall of clouds stretched across the horizon. There was no way around it, no space to turn back. It loomed before them, a towering obstacle that seemed almost impenetrable. Bruce at this time had no choice. Tightening his grip on the controls, he steadied his nerves and flew straight into the heart of the formation. Inside, he would encounter a phenomenon so extraordinary he would change his understanding of reality forever. The cloud that defied reality. Inside, bursts of white light began to flicker. These weren't lightning strikes. They didn't cut across the skies or come with a crackling roar of thunder. Instead, the flashes seemed to pulse from within the cloud itself, casting brief and scary glows. Each burst lit up a swirling vapor, creating a surreal, otherworldly effect. Bruce had no frame of reference of what he was witnessing. Then all of a sudden, his navigation system started to fail. The compass spun erratically, refusing to settle. The altimeter flickered, its reading jumping between impossible heights. The horizon indicator meant to stabilize the pilot's orientation was now completely unreliable. It felt as though the plane system were rejecting reality itself, no longer tethered to the natural world. And then Bruce saw it, a tunnel forming within the cloud. The swirling vapor transformed into a massive cylindrical vortex, stretching endlessly ahead. It was at least a mile wide, with spinning walls that seemed to move with deliberate intent. The tunnel felt like a path created for him, moving him forward, though its purpose was as unusual as the phenomenon itself. With no other option, Bruce flew into the tunnel, gripping the controls tightly. The swirling walls surrounded the plane, and at first, the passage felt spacious, as though offering a fleeting sense of freedom. But then, the walls began to close in. The once expansive vortex narrowed, creating an overwhelming sense of claustrophobia. The flickering light grew more intense, almost blinding, and the oppressive atmosphere made every second feel like an eternity. Bruce's heart raced as he navigated through this unearthly passage, flying on sheer instinct. He didn't know if he was moving towards safety or something far worse. The impossible escape. Every instinct told him he was in a place where the normal rules of reality didn't apply. Then, without warning, the plane broke free. They emerged into a scary gray haze. There was no sun and no horizon. For a few moments, an unsettling calm surrounded them. The chaos of the vortex was gone, and the navigation system began to stabilize. Though their readings still didn't make sense, Bruce wasted no time and reached for the radio. "This is Bruce Gernon. Do you copy? I need my location," he said, with his voice steady but urgent. The response came after a long pause. The dispatcher sounded hesitant. "Stand by." A burst of static filled the radio, breaking up the dispatcher's response, and then, "You're already in a Miami airspace." Bruce froze completely. That wasn't possible. He checked his watch and the fuel levels. The math didn't add up. The 250-mile journey, which should have taken 90 minutes, has been completed in just 45 minutes. The Beechcraft Bonanza couldn't have traveled that fast. Yet here they were, approaching Miami, with less fuel used than the distance required. It defied logic, and Bruce knew they had just experienced something extraordinary. The theories behind the mystery. Bruce Gernon spent years trying to make sense of what happened that day in 1970. His journey defied the laws of physics, leaving him with more questions than answers. Eventually, Bruce developed his own explanation, a phenomenon that's called the electric fog. According to Bruce, the massive cloud he had encountered wasn't just a random weather formation. He believed it was a charged mist, filled with electromagnetic energy that disrupted his plane's navigation systems and warped the very fabric of space and time. He theorized that this fog clung to his aircraft, creating a kind of bubble or anomaly that allowed the plane to travel at an impossible speed. Bruce's idea might sound like science fiction, but some experts think he could be onto something. The Bermuda Triangle is infamous for its strange anomalies, particularly those affecting navigation systems. Over the years, pilots and sailors have reported mysterious compass malfunctions and equipment failures, often without warning. One explanation lies in the Earth's natural electromagnetic fields. The Bermuda Triangle sits near a region where these fields are especially volatile. Scientists have long known that disturbances in these magnetic forces can interfere with their instruments, causing them to malfunction or give them false readings. Could Bruce's electric fog have been an actual electromagnetic anomaly, supercharged by unique atmospheric conditions? Meteorologists also offer another perspective. The Bermuda Triangle's geography makes it a hotspot for extreme weather. High and low pressure systems frequently clashes in this area, creating sudden violent storms. These storms can spawn massive cloud formations, like the ones Bruce described. It's even possible that the tunnel he flew through was a rare atmospheric phenomenon caused by these weather patterns. But none of these explanations account for the most perplexing detail: how Bruce's plane covered 250 miles in just 47 minutes. The Beechcraft Bonanza had a maximum cruising speed of 180 miles per hour. Even with perfect conditions, it couldn't have made the journey in such a short time. That's where another theory comes into play, one that ventures into the world of theoretical physics. Some physicists suggest Bruce may have unknowingly encountered a warp in space-time. Einstein's theory of general relativity tells us that space and time aren't fixed. They can bend and fold under the right conditions. If the Bermuda Triangle harbors a natural wormhole or space-time anomaly, it could explain how Bruce's plane seemed to skid over hundreds of miles in an instant. While no definitive evidence support this idea, the concept isn't entirely impossible. The wormholes are a staple of science fiction, but they're grounded as real physics. Could the Bermuda Triangle be one of the few places on Earth where such phenomena occur? The Bermuda Triangle's chilling history. Bruce Gernon's story is one of the most compelling accounts tied to the Bermuda Triangle, but it's far from the only one. This infamous stretch of ocean has been the site of hundreds of unexplained disappearances, many of which remain unsolved to this day. One of the Triangle's most infamous incidents occurred in 1945 and is now known as the Flight 19 incident. This case involved 5 US Navy bombers on a routine training mission. The planes, piloted by experienced aviators, departed from Fort Lauderdale, Florida on a clear afternoon. Their mission seemed straightforward: conduct a series of bombing runs and return to base. Shortly after takeoff, things began to go wrong. The flight leader reported that his compass wasn't working properly, and soon, other pilots began experiencing similar issues. The radio transmissions grew increasingly disjointed as the pilot attempted to regain their bearings. Descriptions of their surrounding became more ominous. One transmission stated, "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We can't be sure of our position." Minutes later, all communications ceased. The bombers vanished without a trace. A rescue plane was dispatched to locate them, but it too disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Despite extensive search efforts, no wreckage was ever found, and the fate of Flight 19 remains one of the Bermuda Triangle's most enduring mysteries. Just 3 years later, in 1948, another bizarre disappearance shook the aviation world. A passenger aircraft carrying 29 people vanished while flying from Puerto Rico to Miami. The skies were calm, and there was no indication of trouble. Then suddenly, the plane disappeared from radar. No distress signals were sent, and no wreckage was ever recovered. Decades later, divers discovered an aircraft in the depth of the triangle, sparking hopes that it might be the missing plane. However, upon further inspection, the wreckage didn't match the specifications of the lost aircraft, leaving the case unresolved. And the list goes on. Over the years, countless ships and planes have vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. Entire crews have disappeared from vessels found adrift, with no sign of struggle or foul play. Planes have been swallowed by the skies without a trace, their passengers and cargo lost forever. What makes Bermuda Triangle so deadly? Some experts point to natural phenomena like rogue waves, violent storms, or strong underwater currents. Others argue that human error is to blame, as the triangle is one of the most heavily traveled regions in the world. But for many, these explanations fall short of explaining the sheer number of strange and seemingly impossible incidents. Whether it's electromagnetic anomalies, geological activity, or forces we can't yet comprehend, The Bermuda Triangle remains a place where science and legend collide, and the truth remains just out of reach. Bruce Gernon's story and other stories related to the Bermuda Triangle challenges science and spark wonders, reminding us how little we truly understand. Thank you for watching with us till the end. Like this video and subscribe to uncover more mysteries that defy explanations, because the next one might change everything.